We're about to dive into a moment of complete economic collapse. But we're not here just to look at the crisis. Nope. We're here to pull out the really practical, essential lessons for protecting your own money, no matter what's happening out there in the world. So let's get into it. I mean, just think about that for a second. It's a terrifying thought, right? You work hard, you save up, you're planning for the future, and then poof. What if the very money you're counting on suddenly became, well, worthless? For millions of people, this isn't just some scary what if. It's a reality they've actually had to live through. Look at this number, 590%. That was the projected annual inflation for Venezuela by the end of 2025. Just try to wrap your head around that. Prices for things you buy every day aren't just going up each week, they're going up daily. That is hyperinflation. It's basically when money dies. Now, we're using this really dramatic case study to build something useful for all of us, a practical financial survival kit that works for anyone, anywhere. And I want to be clear, this isn't about politics. It's about finding the universal truths about money when a system gets pushed to its absolute breaking point. So what does a total financial collapse actually look like for the people on the ground living through it? Before we can start building our survival kit, we really need to understand the anatomy of the crisis first. Okay, so this slide gets right to the heart of the problem. You see this massive disconnect. On one side, you've got the government's official exchange rate. But on the other, you have the street rate, the one people were actually using to buy things. That huge gap, almost 85%, is what just paralyzed businesses and created this totally broken two-tiered economy. And right here you can see the devastating impact in the real world. A currency losing over 80% of its value in just 1 year. I mean, that means your life savings are just gone, wiped out. That huge gap in exchange rates, it made doing normal business basically impossible. And when the minimum wage for a whole month's work drops to about $1, people have no choice but to rely on aid just to survive. This quote, it just cuts through all the numbers and gets to the human cost, doesn't it? When you can't trust what your money will be worth tomorrow, you can't plan for the future. Life shrinks down to this 24-hour cycle of just survival. But here's where the story takes a really fascinating turn. When the traditional system completely broke down, people didn't just give up. No way. They adapted. And they did it in some truly remarkable ways. So, in the middle of all this chaos, an unexpected lifeline popped up. Digital money. And look, this wasn't some trendy investment people were making. For so many, it became a basic, fundamental tool for survival. Now, the key piece of tech that made this all possible was something called a stablecoin. The easiest way to think about it is like a digital version of a stable currency, like the US dollar. So you get the benefits of crypto, easy to send without a bank, but you don't have the wild price swings you see with things like Bitcoin. It's stable. And get this wasn't just a few people using it on the side, this was happening on a massive scale. By late 2025, the Venezuelan government itself was using a stablecoin to settle a staggering 80% of its oil sales. It was a strategy to get around international sanctions and just keep the economy from grinding to a complete stop. This move by the state had this huge ripple effect. By using crypto for its own survival, the government basically gave it a green light for the whole country. It was like they created a whole new set of financial tracks that everyone, from big companies all the way down to individuals, could start to use. And the result of all this, it was massive. By 2025, Venezuela ranked 11th in the entire world for crypto adoption. And this wasn't driven by Wall Street types speculating. This was driven by regular, everyday people who just desperately needed a reliable way to hold on to their money, get help from family abroad, and pay for basic stuff. So what can we take away from all this? How does this crazy story turn into something practical for you and me? Let's get to it. Okay, this is what we've been building up to. This is the core of this whole explainer, building your own financial survival kit. We've seen the collapse, we've seen the surprising way people adapted. Now let's boil it all down into actionable steps that you can actually use. All right, here are the 4 big pillars of financial resilience we can learn from this. First up, diversify your currency. The single biggest trap was having everything in one currency that was just melting away. Second, go physical. Things like gold and silver have held their value for literally thousands of years for a reason. They exist outside any one government's control. Third, and this one is huge, skill up. A portable trade, whether it's coding, welding, writing, anything you can do from anywhere, that is an asset that can never be taken from you or devalued. And finally, number 4, be really careful with local assets you can't sell quickly. When an economy collapses, trust just vanishes, and things like real estate can become impossible to sell, basically trapping your wealth. And on a more day-to-day level, this means a few simple things. Hold as little cash as you can in a currency that's losing value. Make a budget that's flexible, one you can adjust weekly, not just monthly. Get really aggressive about managing your debt, especially loans with variable rates, because those can become a nightmare in high inflation. And finally, if you invest, look for businesses that have pricing power. Companies that can actually raise their prices to keep up with inflation without losing all their customers. So, after all that, what's the ultimate lesson here? What's the big takeaway? It's this. Financial resilience in a crisis isn't just about how much money you have saved. It's about being adaptable. It's about being diversified across different types of assets, currencies, skills, and physical things so that you are never, ever completely dependent on a single fragile system to protect your wealth. And that leads us to our final and maybe most important question. It's something I really want you to think about. In a world that's always changing, what does true wealth actually look like to you? Is it just a number in a bank account, or is it something more resilient? Is it a skill you have, a network of people you trust, a second passport, or a bar of gold? The lessons from the brink really suggest we all need a much broader definition of value. If this explainer helped you think differently about your money and what it really means to be financially secure, maybe consider subscribing. And hey, share this with someone who also needs to hear this.